Yo, what's good, YouTube? Today we're doing a highly requested VOD review. I was supposed to put this out a while ago, but I ended up getting kind of busy, ended up not putting it out. But this ended up getting requested to me a couple times, so I said I might as well cut it up, do it. Today we're gonna use one of my farm kills that I did recently, where I was in the bottom phase. A lot of people are looking for help on the bottom phase, especially as a Resto Shaman, but even like paladins or any other class, like a druid or something like that, that goes in the bottom phase. That just needs help kind of sustaining their tanks, sustaining the raid group, and how to manage the movement, right? Before we get started, if you can please like, comment, subscribe to the channel. I definitely want to continue to drop more content, especially as more WoW content ends up coming out here in 9.1. As PTR starts to come out, we'll definitely be dropping PTR videos and stuff like that of the boss testings and stuff to kind of get that going, get that rolling. And especially when the next raid comes out, we'll actually cover every single boss. This was kind of like a test to kind of see how it should be done. I was kind of like working around with like a lot of video editing software, stuff like that. But next year, we're definitely going to fully do it, all 10 bosses, get it all done, get these cutouts and VOD reviews out for you guys. So you know, definitely getting that continued support from you guys would really help me out personally, and the YouTube channel as well. We just started up a Discord, so be sure to go to that, follow my Discord, get in my Discord. I'll actually be dropping a lot of information down as the tier starts to rolling, like our healer cooldowns, just tips and tricks for like Resto Shaman specifically, because that's my main. But any other help, if you want to reach out to me, definitely follow my Discord, get in there. In the near future, between this lull and between now and next year, what I actually want to start doing is I'm probably going to come out with this healer boot camp series where we're going to go into detail and look at logs, look at healer CDs, the basics of healing, just stuff like that, just kind of giving you guys another tool to improve your healing, improve your gameplay going into next tier, and just in general in WoW, right? And then I also stream at twitch.tv/Jdtre, so definitely give me a follow there if you guys enjoy the content. But to cut this a little bit short, I know I've been going on for a long time. Let's kind of get to the VOD, okay? So, like I said, this is a VOD, this is a farm VOD, so it's a little bit more non-realistic of like a prog scenario, right? But the principles are still the same. I'll still show you all the movement. I'll still show you how to handle all the situations and go from there, right? So this is kind of a long VOD, 10-minute kill, so just hang in there with me. This video might be a little bit longer, but I'll try to section it out and cut it up for you so that you guys can skip to the phases where you kind of have the most struggles with, okay? So first phase is really simple for a shaman. The good thing about shaman is that we can literally not ever soak, and we can just go Ghost Wolf and deal with that mechanic right there with Ghost Wolf, right? So we never have to really worry about soaking. So that's super easy, super good for us, and we don't have to have the stress of figuring that out, right? A lot of people ask me about Cloudburst timings and stuff like that. Let me get that out of the way. Cloudburst, you don't have to min-max it. Like, at its base form, just play Cloudburst how you would play Cloudburst all the time. Just, if you're going to be healing a lot, which at a lot of times you will be healing a lot in this fight, hit Cloudburst, right? Make sure you're healing into a Cloudburst at all times. You can definitely min-max Cloudburst by like hitting Cloudburst early to time it up for when you're in the air for blood price. So like, you know, look at your blood price timer. Let's say it's at like 10 seconds left. I wouldn't even say 10, more like 8. Then you can hit it, heal into it, and then when you're in the air, your Cloudburst is kind of ticking off, right? So right here, I time out my Cloudburst so that whenever these ads are kind of almost dying, my Cloudburst is ticking off right whenever these ads are pretty much done pulsing, and that way I can have that instant heal right there. That's a little bit of a min-max right there. And then right here, I actually have a Cloudburst rolling already, so that whenever I land, I kind of wasted some seconds on it, right? But at this point, like I said, it's farm. The optimization really isn't that crucial because we just overheal the content, but principle is still the same. You really want to kind of get your Cloudburst so that, like I said, while you're healing, if you're going to be pumping the heals, definitely put Cloudburst into it, right? Put Cloudburst down. Now, cooldowns wise, I'm not sure how your group is having it. With having DKs in the group, that's really good. You can AMZ the first, AMZ the last. That's super good. Have your DK, pretty much wherever you guys have the most people soaking, definitely throw cooldowns in there. So for us, we have it on the first, the second, and like the fourth or something like that. So we definitely want to have like we usually use like a Spirit Link on the first, a Barrier on the second, and then like a Spirit Link on the fourth, which is what we just saw again because we have double Shaman. So that's definitely kind of the way we do it. It doesn't really matter how it's done. P1 is a joke in my opinion. You know, you can phase through it really fast. So as long as you have some sort of cooldown to overlap and people aren't overly soaking and lagging the game and stuff like that, you can manage this phase really, really well, right? I do hit chain heal a couple times in that phase. It's not that important to like really talk about, but a lot of people do talk about like chain heal versus surge. You actually see me surge a little bit more than most other people do because I prefer to surge. I prefer more of that triage like designated target healing, but I don't spam surge. Like surge is not my #1 button, but I definitely probably use it more than I use chain heal. So there's that. But right here, phase 2, our phase 2 strat is the same strat that Limit uses on their kill. So we do obviously we kill both these at the beginning, Sincere and Evershade, and then what we do is we go through the portal, we kill the other horseman, and then we wait until the very end of the P2 to then kill that fourth horseman. So we don't do the split strat that most guilds opt to do, but P2 is irrelevant in my opinion. Like it doesn't really matter what you do in P2 because ultimately the end goal is like you're gonna push Sire at 40% anyways. So as long as you find your guild finds a safe way to do that and handle that, that's okay, right? So right here we go to Dusk Hollow. And this is my CDs where I dropped a link and Tide right here to kind of cover this. And like I said, as long as you have allotted cooldowns for these horsemen are really easy to deal with. You know, whether that's an AMZ, whether that's a shout, a dark. You know, usually I would probably run some sort of healer cooldown on top of it, like a throughput of some sort. Whether that's Tides. Tides are super good because it's just passive. A Trank is good. You know, something of that sort. Even like a Devo for like the pulsing ones, those are really good. And then for our Impales, I actually ran the CDs on this fight, and for our Impales, we actually chose not to run like links and stuff for the Impales like a lot of guilds do. Even like Earthenwall Totems, we don't even put those on there. Pretty much we just made sure that everyone knew that if they got an Impale, that they need to hit a defensive and mitigate all that damage themselves. And I know in other guilds it might be a little bit harder to get your guild to run defensives or use Hellstones or Health Pods, stuff like that, right? But as a healer, it definitely is important to get that into your guild. Like, hey guys, like as a healers, like we just need the help to run a defensive, right? Like right there, I'm in Ghost Wolf and I Astral Shift. Like I take literally no damage, right? So it's important to get your guild to understand like using defensives for that mechanic pretty much lets you save a cooldown. Like you don't have to use a cooldown as a healer during that whole lineup, especially Impales. Like Impales are so easy to deal with, right? So the basis of Shaman on this fight is just make sure you have Healing Rain on cooldown on the ground, Earthenwall Totem if you're playing that on cooldown on the ground, and then you know really just make sure you kind of babysitting the tanks a little bit with Riptides. Make sure they have a Riptide on them as much as possible. And then, you know, just really trying to time up those cleaves, those P-Way cleaves and stuff like that, getting people up to like a healthy number before like the next mechanic comes out. A lot of this stuff is really dodgeable, swirls and stuff like that, Massacre. So once your group kind of gets comfortable with the phase, you'll see that there really isn't much damage, right? Now we're going on to Gloomveil. Right here we have a AMZ, a Barrier, we Link, Dark. Like we could throw a lot of things right here. Because we're gonna we have our timers set for P3, so we know that we're gonna have all those CDs up for like 9 minutes where we're really like kind of struggling in P3. So yeah, so we're just kind of finishing up this P2 phase. Like I said, it's a really simple phase. I don't think I needed to go that much into detail on really explaining P2, but this is where I really want to kind of highlight is P3, and especially as a Resto Shaman. So before we go any further, the goal for P3 as a Resto Shaman and how to deal with P3 as a Resto Shaman is basically, if you're Necro, you really want to utilize your Riptides. Like being Necro down here in this phase, what I'm basically saying is being Necro down in this phase is super, super good because your Riptides can pretty much carry you, right? You're going to be doing a lot of movement, following the tanks around, following the boss around. Your Riptides, your instant heals are going to help you a lot. Spirit Walker's Grace, a lot of people are trying to min-max Spirit Walker's Grace. You don't necessarily need to min-max it. What I usually opt to do, and you'll see, is I try to get max uses out of it. So I use actually a Spirit Walker's Grace really early, and then I use one in the middle, and I use one at the very end. I try to get max uses out of it, where someone, if you're really struggling with a specific movement, you can't opt to use it there. But I just find more value out of it. I lean a little bit more on my H-Pal down there to really cover up some of those times when I don't have the movement. And like I said, I bank on having like good Riptide usage to like snipe some of those lower people that have orbs and that are getting hit by a lot of damage to kind of get that mastery and effect, right? So let's get going. Basically, the biggest thing, make sure you're keeping Riptide on the tanks at all times. I'm just setting up right here to get our cleaves going before we get knocked up in the air. I timed my Cloud Burst a little bit off, but it helped because it still sniped the tank up. I throw down the Healing Tide Totem, and basically, as a shaman, your biggest job is to make sure these players down here, or as any healer down the bottom phase, is that people with orbs are never like in that much danger, right? These are the most important targets while we're doing movement, right? And then once we get to the movement, hopefully people are like your group is at a stabilized like point where now you can focus on tanks, right? The bottom phase shouldn't be too hard. You have DKs. DKs are really self-sustaining. You have a Demon Hunter, self-sustaining. Like most melee that are down here are self-sustaining. Windwalkers are self-sustaining. They have a lot of defenses, right? Warriors are pretty self-sustaining if they're playing Fury. Like you shouldn't really have that crazy of damage down here. That like people shouldn't be taking just like 100 to 0 damage, right? Like most of these melee classes have a lot of self-sustaining, so that could be handled. And throughout this cut up, you'll see we drop AMZs and links and stuff like that to kind of help mitigate these orbs and to go from there. So I'm like overloaded with mana right now, 60%. So at this point, I need to find a way to dump and to get more usage, like more value out of my mana. So you'll see I really start spamming like surges down here to really get more like value out of my mana. And since down here is such like a high pressure, like fast scenario where you really need to get people up, Surge is pretty good down here. I never actually use chain heal down here. And then you see we AMZ'd it to kind of just mitigate all that orb damage that was going on and the knockback, the Shattering Pain. And then we're gonna have this Ravage movement. The first Ravage movement is not too bad. I really just get out of the way, and then I try to set up myself to get a Healing Rain down and an Earthen Wall Totem down just so we can soak all this up. You really want to try to get Healing Rain down as much as possible on these orbs just to give you that little extra passive healing, right? And then right here, this is Blood Price 2. We actually use a lot of our CDs right here, and then we know we're going to have a couple more CDs. I think we have like a Shout and defenses on P3 and stuff like that, right? Or on Blood Price 3. But right here, we use a Devo, a Shout. We have the Link as well, so the Link actually still counts. You'll still get the 10% DR when you're in the air, and then also personal as well. This is where we were struggling a lot on prog, so usually Blood Price 2 is where we elect to have a lot of people use their stuff. And then right after this, we also tell people to use a Hellstone. So that Hellstone is kind of like a healer cooldown in itself. That really allows the healers to catch up and then get us back on track to pretty much be successful. Like as long as people aren't using their Hellstone and Health Pot beforehand, giving us that opportunity to use them later on in the fight definitely helps healers a lot without having to extend healing on people and get out of position and stuff like that, right? We have our Paladin sack the tank where he was really struggling, which is usually after P2 or after the Blood Price 2. Sorry, I keep saying that. And now we're about to set up for that second Ravage, and we're just pretty much pumping as much damage as we can as a shaman. Right here, we really want to try to hit to like sub 15% is like really good. If you're getting 13, 12, like 11%, this is pretty much a kill. All you have to do is just do this Ravage set correctly and not die. So you'll see as a shaman, I get the bop as you should, and you pretty much just need to play it safe. Don't hit a line, provide as much DPS or healing if you can't. If you need to, do what you need to do. And then you'll see right here, I throw the Earthen Wall Totem down. I do not put a Healing Rain down, but we also have AMZ, and we're just trying to get people up. The goal is just to get people up to a healthy range before the next damage event, right? So whatever it is that you need to do, whether that's hit surges, hit them with a a Riptide, give them something, juice them up before that next damage event comes out. Right here, the good thing about Shaman is Shaman never dies. Like, literally. If you're playing a Resto Shaman, you should never die. Like, fact. And especially if you're playing Necro, like, literally never die. So, the second one you saw, the second blood price you saw that I was using an Astral Shift. And then this third one, I don't know if I used it, but what you should use and what I usually do use is my Earth Ellie. I didn't use it on this one. But what you usually should use is an Earth Ellie. And that gives you like a HP steroid as long as you're playing the Endurance. And you're pretty much good for every single blood price. You can also flesh one of these, like that's super good. If you're dropping an orb, you can get in position and flesh the orb, get the 20% DR, right? Like that's super, super good. If you're Venthyr, you don't have Fleshcraft, so you can use just the Astral Shift and then the Earth Ellie, right? So right here, we're getting to the end of the fight. We're just throwing stuff. We're just making sure we do these last orbs, and then we know that this is pretty much a kill. We know that. So we're kind of overloading on our CDs, throwing AMZs down, darknesses, and just keeping people at a stable like HP, right? And then at the very, very end, we just kill the boss. So yeah, I mean, like I said, that was a farm kill. A lot of people in our group are obviously very like comfortable and understand the fight really well and don't take as much damage. But I understand in a prog scenario, it's not going to be as comfortable as this. It's not going to be as easy as that, right? But what I would say for P3, as long as you understand to, try to get as many uses as you can out of your Spirit Walker's Grace. Use it, find where you're struggling, and if you want to, you can kind of hold it for that. But I never needed to do that. I felt like I could just try to get the max uses out of it. So I used one early, in the middle, and then at the very, very end. Usually on movements when we're going towards an orb, obviously, right? When we're making a movement towards an orb. For like Ravages and stuff like that, I wouldn't necessarily use Spirit Walker's Grace for a Ravage because we're not taking any damage, right? The only thing that's going on is a Ravage and a Massacre. So there's no damage, no Shattering Pain coming out. There's maybe a couple people with the orb, but like you can, as long as you hit them with like a Riptide or Unleash Life, stuff like that, you can handle that, right? And then also making sure you and your tanks, like as a healer, the two that are down there and the tanks are like kind of communicating with each other. As a shaman, you don't have an external, but you're down there with a paladin or a druid or a monk, right? Those classes have externals of some sort. Make sure your tanks are getting those externals when they need them. That way it takes off the stress off of you as a healer, and then it also takes off the stress off them as a tank. So make sure y'all are kind of communicating on that. And then I don't know what everyone's role is, but definitely suggest using defensive specifically for blood prices, right? Like do as much as you can as a healer to get people in your raid group on the bottom phase or on the top phase, wherever you're at, but specifically on the bottom phase for this example, to use like defensives and play a little bit defensive in those cases where they need to, right? If they have an orb and they're getting low, use a defensive. If they have, or a Hellstone or a health pot, right? If they're about to do blood price and they're at 70%, use a defensive. We have 3 DKs, they can AMS every single blood price. They take no damage on blood prices, right? Like DK should never take damage on a blood price. They can AMS every single one. Definitely try to find opportunities to like downsize the damage that's going on in P3 and then just focus on the people that are actually going to take damage, right? Like our mage is going to take damage, our tank's going to take damage, our demon hunter is probably going to take damage, I'm going to take some damage as a shaman, stuff like that, right? So I hope that helped out. I know this is a super late into farm video, but I know, like I said, this was requested a little bit, and I just wanted to kind of provide this information out for people and kind of give an update on what's going on for the channel and give you something to kind of look forward to as we're putting out more content, as we're going into next tier, right? So if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely like, comment, subscribe, drop a comment if you want to kind of add further information or need some more information. That could definitely help out. Definitely on the Discord, and let me know there too if you need any help further on this fight. So definitely, peace.